guys, welcome back to Journeys in Time. Welcome if you're new. Today I have a really cool make for you guys. I went playing with some hanging file folders like this. Very old ones, they're all rusty and all the rest of it. I cut off the metal pieces and I wanted to see what I could make. Obviously there are lots of things you can make, but this is what I came up with. So what do we have? We have a little thing that looks like a notebook, but when we open it up, on the inside here we have a little flippy notebook, and we have 3 slip pockets. I don't have anything in those at the moment, but there are 3 pockets, and they do work because I have checked them. I think this might be just slightly too wide. I'll have to double check this one. It might have gotten glued a little bit down along the way. Yeah, there we go. And oh yeah, it doesn't actually go all the ways down. That's what the issue is, my lord. And we have a top pocket. Okay, so that's that part. So we close this up and we turn it over, and we have another closure here, and inside we have a nice big file folder with another pocket inside. Isn't that awesome? Now there are a couple of little different things about this that I'll explain on along the way, and one of the little secrets is that this is also a pocket on this side. And we pull out our journal card, and there we have that. So that looks like a decor piece that is coming out of the spine, but it's actually a pocket, and I love that. That's something I've done before, and my intention at the start of this was to actually close that up to completely glue it, but I couldn't resist putting the pocket in there. So that's that. That's what we're going to make today. There might be slight differences in the ones we're making today, but this is the basic construction. This is the basic piece. Now I have bits and pieces cut, inked, ready for 2 more. So I'm just going to pull those in here. So I wanted to try one of these with a paper base just to see how that would work. So I have a sheet here from my Steamship Voyage kit, and I've cut that down to size. We'll talk more about sizing and things like that in a minute. And I'm also making one with some Tim Holtz paper. I just wanted to try different things. Now these are different sizes, all 3 of them. As you can see, the one with the file folder is slightly bigger than the others, and that's because the file folder itself is slightly bigger than than all the rest of the pieces. Okay, so how the size was determined for these ones was the size of my paper. So for the A4 sheet, I just took my A4 sheet and folded it in 4. So you take your A4 sheet, fold it in half. I'm actually going to get a full A4 sheet to show you guys that. So you would take your A4 sheet, fold it in half, and then fold it back on itself on either side. There and there. Okay, so that is essentially this, and I have just cut a piece off the bottom to kind of get the proportion that I wanted. So that's the basis of all of them. So you end up with these kind of Z folds. Okay, they're not Z folds, they're accordion folds. My apologies. If it was a Z fold, that'd only be 3 cards. But anyway. And I've done the very same thing with my Tim Holtz paper. I've used the 12 by 12 sheet, cut it down to the size I wanted it, and folded it up in 4 different parts. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, and all my bits are falling out. I should have just paper clipped those. It would have been so much easier. Anyway, so that is the base of them. And as you can see, I have all the other bits and pieces cut and ready to go, and we will be talking through those. So let's start with the paper one, because I figure a lot of people would have digitals and, you know, just A4 sheets. You could just take a plain white A4 sheet or a coffee dyed A4 sheet and do this and decorate to your heart's content. I have printed double-sided on this piece. So when you are folding your paper, you need to fold it so that the piece the first fold that you do when you fold it in half, so that the bit that you want showing on the front is folding back on itself. It's on the inside when you do your first fold, so that when you fold it back over, your front piece comes up like that. Okay, so we are holding it so that our middle fold is up. It's a mountain fold, okay? So we have a little door here, and then we flip it and we have another little flap here. Okay, that is that. Now, the first thing I want to do here, so you see these little closures, I'm going to get my piece ready for that. Now, I'm going to open out my piece again, and I want you to note that this is the front. I'm keeping that towards me as I'm folding it, and on this center crease here I'm going to put a piece of tape. And the reason I'm putting that piece of tape is because we are going to be cutting a little piece out of that, and I don't want it to be able to rip. So literally just down that center. Okay, get my bone folder. That is that. Now I am actually going to work on the two of these together, okay, and we'll see what different steps we get along the way. These steps are going to be the same, and it's going to be mostly the same, but I just want to get both of these done. I was hoping to have the second one made before I got to do the video, but the day ran away with me and it's getting to the point where I won't be able to video today, so we'll do the two of them on camera. You'll get to see both. So we have our tape down the centers of both. Now, before I can cut the slots, and I'll show you what I mean by the slots there in a second, I need to determine my closure. Now, I have chosen for the closures to use some, it's just cereal box, and I'm kind of having a little buzz with cereal boxes lately. I'm really liking them, and I need to trim this down very slightly because it's got that little ridge there that I don't like. Now, I know that I am going to be using this width, and I'm happy with that width for this. So let's make sure I have this the right way around with my little mountain fold to my right hand side. And I'm going to pop this down here and just get it fairly central. Let's get and I don't use a pen or a pencil on this. I don't use a pencil at the moment because none of them are sharpened, but I don't use a pen on it just in case it does show through. So I just use a little pokey tool, and I just make a couple of marks so that I can see where I need to cut, and I'm going to do the very same thing on this with the piece that I'm using for this. I'm going to get my piece down here, get it fairly central. I'm eyeballing this. You could of course always measure. If measuring makes you happy, you do that. Making my little marks, and we're going to take a little tiny sliver out of that. Now I'm doing this with my craft knife. You can do it with scissors. Okay, so you can see, that's not my ruler, my lord. You can see that I am just literally taking a sliver. That is how much I'm going to be taking, okay? Now, when you're cutting these, I would advise bringing back your two pieces. So this is our piece. Bring them back out of your way so you don't take a chunk out of those. So that is what it looks like when you open it up. We have our little slot here, and it's the same on the other one. Okay, you see that? Okay, so that's that at the moment. Now that needs to go up there. I'm trying to keep my pieces separate for each one. And the next thing we need to do then is our little closure piece. Okay, so take your closure piece, whatever piece you have for your closure. Now mine are just a scooch over an inch, about an inch and an eighth wide. It's entirely up to you what size you want yours. And notice I'm not really giving you guys measurements because your papers, will determine what sizes you do, or you yourself will determine what sizes you do. And by the way, if you want a wider one like this and you don't have a piece of paper long enough, just hinge 2 pieces together. Put a hinge, make two panels like this. Make 2 panels like this, leave a little extra bit to make a hinge, and hinge them together and get your long accordion piece. Okay, so for our closure, now this is card, and I want this to be fairly flexible like this. I don't want it to be stiff and difficult to put in and out. So all I do for that, and I actually did this for something in my most recent video as well, I think. I just grab my ruler and it's almost like curling ribbon. And that just breaks down the fibres a little bit in the card, and it makes it a bit more flexible. And I'm going to do it back the other way just to straighten it out a little. There we go. Okay, so like I said, this is just a cereal box. I've just peeled off one layer, that shiny layer, and I quite like that. I like the feel of it. It reminds me of leather, so I'm leaving it like that. You could cover it. Now we have our tape on there, which is great. So let's see how far over we want this to actually come. So I'd like it to come to there. So I'm going to crease that there. I'm going to fold it out. Now we don't need all of this, so I'm going to chop it off. And I am not putting a pocket in the side of this. If I was going to put a pocket in the side of this, I would actually just tape this down. Because I'm not putting a pocket in the side of this one, because it's such flimsy paper, I'm just going to glue it. So we'll get our glossy accents, or at least I'm getting glossy accents because of the tape. You use whatever glue you feel would work for you. Make sure you have it straight on this side first, where you want it, and then fold it over into place. Okay, that is that. Now I'm actually going to round the corners of this. Should have done that before. For the closure on the original one that I did, I just took a ticket shape that I have, it's a die cut that I have, and I just traced around it and cut around it just to give it a nice little decorative edge. So we're travelling on. Even after getting that flexible with the ruler, I do like to kind of roll it a little. It just helps it to kind of do what I'm wanting it to do, you know. And that is to be as flexible as I can get it. Okay, that's that one. Now for my little closure piece, I have pulled out this. This is some faux washi from the kit, Steamship Voyage kit. And I am going to get this back down to card. I would say that your closure piece should be at least the same weight as your little tab. Okay, that's just my feeling on it. I have no signs to back that up or anything. That's just my take on it. So there we have that. And how far up do I want it? I don't want it to go too far. Maybe there. Just guesstimating it. Gonna cut it there. Lovely. And while I'm here, I'm going to cut another one the very same, because my piece is going to be the same width on the other side. And that is that. Now, how do we want to attach this? So on this one, you can see that we've done a couple of brads, and I may do that again. Let me have a look and see. Yeah, I think a couple of brads would look really, really cute on there. So I'm going to get my crocodile. Now, I like to fold these over in half. If I am putting 2 holes in something, I like to fold it on itself. I'm not creasing it. just to kind of, if one of them is uneven, they're both going to be uneven, and as such it doesn't look half as bad. Let's get those in there. Let me see. Yeah, that should be good. So my little trick that I use when I'm doing pieces like this, when they have something that needs to slip underneath, when I'm marking the holes for the actual, we'll call this plate part, when I'm marking the holes for the plate part, I'll mark one, and then I will scooch up just a teeny tiny bit, and I'm talking maybe a 1/16 of an inch. And the reason I do that is so that when my brads go in, this piece will have a tiny bow, just the tiniest of bows, and it will make it so much easier to get that in and out. Okay, so that's a pro tip. Ask me how I know. Years of trying to make sure that things fit underneath. Okay, so I'm going to get my holes in there. You can use a pokey tool for this if you don't have a crocodile, guys. You're only putting brads through, so but I like my holes to be neat. Okay, so I have my brads up here. Now I do have teeny tiny brads, but this is a fairly wide piece, so I'm going to use the bigger ones again. Now, as I'm working with this paper, like I said at the start, I wanted to try this with paper, and as I'm working with it, I can see that there may be issues working so light, so it might be worth your while sticking to cardstock, even if it's a light cardstock. I wanted to check and see could I do it with this because it keeps the bulk down. It's not a terribly bulky piece, but it's something that we all kind of try to do in our journals, is it not? Okay, so we have that, and we need to get our second one in. And I always pinch my brads with pliers. You can use you can actually use your ruler to do that as well, like so, if you have a steel rule or a hammer or whatever, and it just kind of flattens, keeps them a little flatter against the page for you. At this part here, it's not so bumpy. Okay, so there we have that. Now the reason I was saying that we don't want this piece all the way to the edge is because it would be nearly impossible to get this in under it if you did have it all the way to the edge. Okay, so that is our little closure on that one done. And we'll deal with those brads very soon. I'm going to speed through the closure on this one. Okay, so we have our two closures on there. The only extra little step that I did with this one was I put some glue on the back of this piece because I felt that there just wasn't enough scope really, and I put some tape back there as well to stop tearing through, just because it's a smaller piece, that's all. Okay, so I mean, it's your own discretion whether you want to put tape on the back of it. It might help stop the brads tearing through, because it will get a bit of action with the thing coming in and out. Okay, so that is our closures on the front parts. The next thing we're going to do is put down our pockets. Now I have pockets ready to go, and these are the parts that I have chosen for these. So we have a little offcut, I have some wax resist tea dyed paper, and we have this piece from the kit as well. Okay, so I want to first determine where I want to put my top pocket, and I want it down a little bit. I want there to be enough room to have things peeking out. So I'm just going to get glue on three sides of this. And all I've done here, guys, is I've cut pieces to slightly less than the width. It's about 1/8 of an inch less than the width of my page, for want of a better word, or my panel. And I'm just, it's up to you how deep you want your pockets. You could have the back pocket come all the way down to the bottom if you want that. That is entirely up to you. I want shallower pockets, so I made them smaller. So I'm just going to get some And I'm also going to put in a thumb notch. I should have done that, I know. But that's a very quick thing to do, so we'll get that done as well. Okay, so we have our thumb notch in there now as well. And we get that positioned. The next one, I want these slanted. I want them done the same way as I have done them in here. So we have a slant here and a steeper slant on the second one down. So I'm going to do them the same way. So I'm thinking from here to about, yeah, so we can actually come to here, okay? And again, this is arbitrary. It's entirely up to you how steep you want to make these slants. And I'm going to take my other one here and I'm going to mark that as well. Now, because I want the slant on this one to be steeper than this one, I'm just going to come down a little bit further. In fact, it's quite a bit further. And mark that. Again, entirely up to you. There we go. I think that should look the way I want it to. Yeah. Okay. A quick bit of ink on those. And we can get these into place. Be cool too. Ooh, I think I might do it that way. Yep, I'm going to do it that way. Now I'm actually thinking that I might leave this one as a tuck. Just slightly different again. Why not? So it'll be a tuck in there. That is looking very cute. Okay, so on the opposite side, we need to put down a little belly band and a notebook. Now I have the notebook made up. It is literally scraps of paper just stapled together. And I've used the wax resist paper for here as well. And I think that just came out so nice. If you haven't watched my wax resist video, I will try to link it up here somewhere or down the description box. I had a lot of fun with it. And this was one I used a lot of paints and things in that video, but this was one that I just did on coffee paper and didn't put anything over the top. And I love how that came out. So that's the scrappy notebook. Now I am going to round those corners. And while I have the rounder out, I'm going to round the corners of my cover. Okay, so just a word on that corner rounder and why it's not working properly. If your lines aren't square, like I may have folded this slightly off square, or this line down here might be coming down a tiny bit, not apparent to the naked eye, but if they're off square, your corner rounder, because it's using a straight edge on either side, it can't do the corner properly if they're not square. Just you know, for your information, guys. I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so let's get this down. So we have our brads to deal with as well, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this strip of faux washi from the kit and I'm going to paste it down there just to hide them. I'll get that done. And now we need a belly band across here. Now I had actually earmarked this part for the belly band, but we used it there, so let's find something else. Now the belly band isn't really going to be seen. It's going to be seen a tiny little bit at the corners here like this. So it's not that big a deal. Let's find something that will work. Okay, so I'm actually just going to use a piece of this and it will tie in with the closures that we have as well. So I don't need it this wide this way, but let me get the width first. And you want it not right to that crease and not right to the edge, okay? So I'm just marking it slightly in from that edge. Let's get that cut down. Okay, so we have our little piece for our belly band. I have just rounded the corners on this, cut it down to the size I wanted, and I've just put a little bit of a texture stamp in the background just to give it some interest. So we need to determine where we can and cannot glue. Now we have little enough scope with this. So I'm actually going to leave that lying there while I'm gluing so that I'm not going too far with the glue. Now I'm not going right up to the edges of this notebook because that won't give us enough scope to get it in there. Keep it a little bit away, a little bit wider than your notebook is. Now you don't want to put too much glue on that it's going to spurt in here and close it up on you. Just enough to keep it in place. Determine where you want your belly band to sit, or your notebook to sit when it's on the belly band, and put the belly band down on one side just below that staple because that's where it's going to stop. Scoot it over. Job is a good one. Okay, that's the belly band in place. Alright, so that's the front of it, the front compartment all done. We have our pockets, we have our belly band with our notebook, and we have our closure and everything on there. So I am going to go and get the second one done, and I'll come back and show you guys. Okay, so I've gone ahead and got my pockets and my little notebook and belly band in here. So that is that one done. Now one thing that I haven't done here is round these corners, but I'll do that in a little while. Okay, so for the next part, now I'm going to actually work on this one because I think it might be easier to show you with this one. And we are doing an extra step on this one also. Okay, so I want to put a flap on here. I have my flap already made, as you can see. Now all I've done for the flap is I've taken a piece of a rectangular piece. It's the same height as my piece. I've determined how long I want my flap to actually be. That's the actual flap. And I have given it 3 score lines. They're about 1/8 of an inch apart. And then I've left roughly 1/2 inch behind that. So it's 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch for all the score marks. So we have 1/8 and 1/8, that's 1/4 plus 1/2, that's 3/4 inch, and then roughly 1 inch, so it's 1 3/4 inches. Now I'm just giving you the measurements for that one just because these gussets, you would want them about the 1/8 of an inch, and you would want to leave yourself at least 1/4 inch there. Flap, entirely up to you. You can make it as short or as long as you like. Okay, so with my flap piece, I am going to fold it so that I have the flap and the gussets, and then I'm folding back that extra piece, okay? And that's the piece that I am going to glue down here. We don't want to glue our gussets down here because it's pointless putting them in. I put in the gussets so that if this piece gets a little bit fat, it has a little bit of room to grow, because we're doing a slightly different closure on this one. The closure on the other one is going to be very, very similar to this. So I'm going to show you this one first. Okay, so I am also going to snip these little corners here. So from the score line down, I've taken a little diagonal off of that flap that we're going to be gluing down. And that just helps it not peek over the edges. It keeps things nice and tidy. There we go. Yeah. So I'm going to get my glue all the ways along here. And I'm going to make sure that I'm using that 3rd score line to line up with the edge of that. And that's that in place. Okay. Pretty awesome. So that's what it's going to look like. And we have that little flap. Yeah, love that. Very, very cool. Okay, so this part, this is something that I have been trying to achieve for a long, long time, and I finally figured it out, and I'm sharing it with you guys today. Now, if you will see, I have some examples to show you so that you can see exactly why I'm doing this, okay? So if you can see on this one, we have a nice wide opening here, okay? We have a little pocket in there as well. Don't mind the pocket for now. But we have a nice wide opening, alright? Our pockets are huge, all the rest of that. Now, that's because these folds come in quite a bit, but these folds also come in quite a bit. You get a nice wide opening, but your pocket is tiny in this one. Pocket is way bigger, you have way more space. Now obviously these are two different sizes, but this gives you way more space. This is another type of gusset, not that one, this one here. It's another type of gusset, and you get a lot less space in here. These folds here are a lot shorter. Okay, so what I did to achieve this and get this nice wide opening on this, when I'm making the gusset, I'm using a circle instead of a rectangular piece. Okay, so when you use a circle for this, it stays nice and wide at the top, but it narrows towards the bottom, and it keeps these folds out of the pocket. Okay, so you still get the nice wide opening with the large folds at the top. When you pull those back and straighten them out, your pocket isn't hampered down here at the bottom the way it is with these. See this fold here? This comes right into your pocket. On this one it doesn't, it goes back out of the way. Okay, I'm not sure that it is very clear on camera what is going on there, guys, but trust me, you get a lot more room in your pocket, and I love this. Like I said, I've been trying to achieve this for a long time. Don't know why it didn't take me to use a circle, but there you go. Now I am trying to use just paper on this one. That may come back and bite me in the bum. We'll see. I used card on these ones. We'll see. So the parts for these parts for the two are going to be different. So I'm going to show you both. I'm just going to start with this one. Okay. Now the gussets are actually going to be the same on both, but the actual pocket itself is going to be slightly different. So I took a circle and I cut it in half. Now how did I know how big I needed my circle? Well, I just measured the inside of my pocket, which was almost 3 inches, okay, and double that. So I'm going to say 3 and 3 is 6, and minus a quarter because it's not quite the 3. So I'm going to say 5 3/4. So my circle would have had to have been 5 3/4 in diameter, 5 3/4 inches in diameter. Okay, cut it down in half, and the height is right for our pocket. It's actually slightly down, but that's okay. That's because I'm using the wrong circle. Ah. This is the circle for this one. So the height is pretty much bang on. It's tiny teeny bit over. We're not going to worry about that. Okay, so my circle for this one would have been 5 3/4 in diameter. Okay, cut it in half. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to start folding our circle. Now there will be a pretty side in and a pretty side out on these. If you're using double-sided paper, that's not a big deal. The side that you want to face out up here, when you make your first fold, and we're just folding this in half, when you make your first fold, make sure that's facing you. Okay, going to do the same with the other circle, the other half circle. Now we need 2 gussets obviously, so I'm just going to do these at the same time. That's that. Next thing, we are going to decide how wide we want our actual gusset pieces to be. Each one of these V's, we'll say. Okay, now I just do this arbitrarily. I don't measure or anything. You could, but what you need to do, fold your paper back in itself, matching the curve. Don't worry about the point. The point will take care of itself as long as you're matching the curve up here. I don't want them quite that wide. So let's have them there and crease that into place. Okay, do the very same on the other side. Try and match them up. But make sure your curve is matching itself when it's folded back. There we go. And we're going to do one more. Always matching these. Once we've done the first fold, we're matching everything else to that one, to that fold. Okay. And the last one. Now you can go ahead and use a regular gusset for your pocket, your accordion pocket, if you want, this folder part that we're doing. But I just thought I would show you guys this today because I'm quite excited about it. Okay, so this is what we have right now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have folded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, okay? Including that initial fold in half, this one. So that's one. I'm going to try and match the second piece up with our first piece. Which is going to be difficult enough. That's one fold. Two folds. Oh. There we go. Fold it back again. 3. 4. And 5. Okay. Now when I am putting these in, we want the pretty side out, so I'm laying them this way, okay? And make sure pretty side will be out, laying it this way. And I'm just taking off, I'm just going to go and snip off the very bottoms here, just a tiny sliver off, and cut it straight across. Do the same on the other one. Now these look very wide at the moment. They're not going to be that wide. Just bear with. So I'm folding these back flaps back this way, okay? They're like little butterfly wings. I'm going to lay this back down on my piece, and I'm going to line up that mark, that fold mark, with the edge so that it's straight across that edge, okay? And I'm going to mark for myself. I'm going to use a pencil this time. I'm going to mark myself about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of our piece, and we're just going to cut that straight off. Going to do the same on the other one. I'm going to fold those two wings back. I'm going to use this one to measure where we want that cut. I should have actually waited until this point to cut this, so I'm just going to do that again. I'm going to cut that straight across there. Same on the other side. There. Okay. Now what we're doing here, we are using these little flaps, these little ones that we just created. Okay, that is the only thing that is getting glued down, and I'm going to do it from this side because I want to make sure that I have it to the top. Hope you can see that. So we're lining up our pieces to the edges, and we are gluing those little flaps. Again, line it up at the top and straight down that edge. Get that glued. Okay, so this is what we have at the moment. You can see how this is going to work now. Okay, so we need to get the other side glued. Get glued down this flap, and make sure you're not going past that crease line that we've created there. You just want it on that tiny little tab. Now this time, put glue on both of them at the same time. Make sure they're in place and get this folded up. So you can see that we have a nice big opening in our folder. Okay, that's awesome. But these little pieces come back out of the way and they're not hampering everything that's in there. Now, I had thought that I wasn't going to put a pocket in here, but I think I actually will. I'm not going to do it on this one because I don't have the pieces prepped. I'll be showing you how to do it on this, but I will come back and do it on that as well, I think. Okay, so we are doing the very same thing again with the gussets. I am going to just speed through that and get it done. If you need to re-watch what I did with this one, just rewind the video. I feel it's a bit redundant for me to go through it a second time for you guys when you can just rewind the video. Okay. Okay guys, so as I was folding the gusset for this, I noticed something that could be very confusing, so I just thought I'd come back and explain it. So when you have your half circle folded in half and you're going to fold the next fold, you are taking the open end and you are folding it right back. You're not folding at this edge, you're not deciding at this edge where it's open what size your gusset is going to be. You're deciding from the center what size your gusset is going to be. Okay, just thought I would clarify that. Okay, so I noticed actually another little thing while I was doing this one, and what that is, yeah, so when you are measuring for your circle for your gussets, okay, you need to actually add a little bit because we're snipping off the bottom. So now it doesn't make that much of a difference. I just left my gussets down from the top there and that's totally fine. It looks perfectly fine to me. So I'm going to just leave it at that. But you can add a little bit onto your measurement. So instead of calling it 2 3/4, you might call it 3 and add a little bit on. You can cut off as much as you need to from the bottom to make it work. Okay, so bigger rather than smaller. And just a note on circles as well, guys. I have a circle cutter that will cut me a circle any size I want. It is this little contraption. If I can find the link for it, I know I got it on Amazon, so if I can find a link for it, I'll leave it below for you guys. But you can get them on Amazon. And this just adjusts the blade and things like that. And there's measurements on it and all the rest of that. There's instructions in the box with it. But I just wanted to point out that something like this might be useful for cutting larger circles. If you do want to do the circle gussets, you can always use dies and things like that. There are many ways to create circles of a certain diameter. Look it up on YouTube and you'll get hundreds of videos showing you how to do that. Okay, so that was all just the little asides there. So we have our little gussets here. Now the last thing we need to do in here is, I'm leaving this one for now. I'm not going to be putting a pocket into that. I will come back and do a pocket in there, I think. I just much prefer. But look at how much wider that can open if you don't put the pocket in. The pocket is going to stop it opening quite that wide. So depending on how wide your circle was in the first place, that's the width of the pocket you're going to get. Okay. So there are slight differences with putting pockets in and not putting pockets in. Okay. And I will show you this one because we're going to be putting a pocket in. That's what it looks like now. When we open it, that's what we can do. Let's get a pocket in there. Now I'm just using the other half of one of the kit pages that I used here. I don't even know where I used it. I think I might have used it for, yeah, nope. I used it for the back of the notebook. That's what I did. And this is the part I have the other side of it that I had left over. So I'm just going to use this for my pocket. I'm just going to trim down the white edges. Okay, now the sides of the pocket are going to be seen a little bit, not a whole lot. So I'm not going to worry about things being upside down. I'm not going to worry about the inside of the pocket looking pretty, any of that good stuff. I just want to get the pocket in here. So we need to figure out how wide our pocket is going to need to be. Now, we're going from this point here to this point here. the scope of how wide our pocket can be. In my case, that is 4.5 inches, okay? And the depth, I'm going to keep the same height as the gusset for this one. So 2.5. So I'm just measuring to here, okay? So we have 4.5 by 2.5. Okay, so we'll do 4.5 across this way. Now I know from the ones I've already done that if I do this exactly 4.5, it is going to get caught. So I'm actually going to bring that down to 4.25. Now, when you're doing your own, you can try it at the exact measurements and just cut it down as needed. Just take a little piece off here and there. I'm going to try it at the 4.25 simply because I know. And we want it, what should we say, 2.5 high? 2.5 high. But because we're making it a pocket, we're going to double it and make that 5 high. So that is our piece. We need to fold this up in half. Make sure you're folding it the right way. Remember, you're folding the height of it in half. Slip it in and see if it fits your pocket or your gusset even. And it does, okay? And because I left myself that 1/4 inch, I have plenty of room to spare. So that is the perfect size. I am going to ink the very top edge of this. So we are going to get some glue on all 4 sides. So we're going to put it down here, down this side, and then this edge. The only edges we're not gluing are tops and bottoms. Okay, so we're going to open up our pocket here like this. I'm going to situate our pocket piece in between these pieces here, right down to the bottom, and I'm going to close that up. Et voila, we have a little pocket in there. Okay, now I've just realized as well that because my pocket is open at the ends, it actually opens wider than this one. This pocket was actually folded over. It was a piece that was folded along this edge here, and it doesn't open anywhere near as wide as that one. I think that is kind of cool. Okay, interesting to know. And this is how we learn. Okay, so we have a pocket, a pocket, a pocket. And that still opens quite wide. Not quite as wide as it did before we put in the pocket, but that's okay. Now, I think the last thing we need to do is our closures. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do the very same as this. We're going to take our piece of card, bring it up through and fold it the other way. So we have one on either side, okay? We don't need it that long. Now, I made this one a little too short. I'm not happy with how short that is. I prefer them to come out here. Technically, this piece is too wide. But I'm going to try and make this one a little longer and see if I prefer that. I'm sure I will. Now, silly me. I actually made a note to myself to do this first. I forgot again. So you're probably better off to do this part before you put in your gusseted pocket part, folder part, whatever you call it. I like to call it a folder. Okay, so I just about got those in there. Now, because I'm using paper here, I am actually going to put some tape down there. I know it's not really the dumb thing when we're doing vintage journals, but you know what? They're not actually vintage. We're doing vintage style, so it's okay. giving myself a pass. And that will just help to strengthen that. Now I'm not even going to punch those holes. I'm going to leave them as they are. I'm going to get my piece in there. We're using the larger brads for this one. Okay, so that is that. It is done. Now, like I said, do this part before you put in your gusseted pocket. It's just, for some reason, I forgot to do it that way again. I will hide those brads probably with some washi. So I'm going to try and get this piece of washi down in here. This is going to be fun. I'm not going to try and get the whole width of the washi in there. I will trim it. And that will just hide them. I'm not worried about it looking scrappy. We're making a junk journal. Or at least we're making a piece for a junk journal right now. Get that trimmed. And job's a good one. Okay. Threads are hidden and they're not going to catch anything. And it looks kind of interesting. And it does have the added benefit of strengthening that edge as well. Okay. Last thing I want to do with this one, I am gluing this together. I am not leaving this open as a pocket or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead, get some glue in there and glue that shut. Okay, so that is that for that one. Now the reason I decided to glue this one together and not leave it open is because we made it from paper. It is lighter weight. Is it a lot less bulky? It actually is quite a bit less bulky. It has to be said. Can you see that? There is a lot less bulk going on in this one. So making it from paper, there is a case to be made for it. However, I much prefer to make them with the card. It does work and it works very well, but it feels so much nicer with the card. Okay? Just a consideration for you guys. Like I said, I wanted to try it myself and see, and I thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride. So we need to finish the last one. That is what we have for that one. Okay, it's a bit simpler than the others because it doesn't have that spine pocket, and that's perfectly fine too. But we have this one to finish. Now we're doing a different closure here. We have our gusseted pocket and we're doing a different closure on here, and I'm doing a simple policy envelope closure. Okay, nothing difficult about it or anything like that. I'm just going to get my spots marked for my holes. And of course I should also have done this again before I did the gusseted pocket, particularly this one I should have, because this is coming down. There's no way I'm getting the crocodile in there, but we'll just poke the hole. So silly. There's always something. I always think I'm so prepared and so organized, but then something like this happens. And I am using the smaller brads to match the other ones. Very nice. And let's get those covered before we go any further. Just going to cut a couple of circles from the same card, and I'm going to just cover them with these. The one on the inside I might just put tape on as well, because this will catch stuff going in and out. Okay, so that's our brads hidden. The white edges on this is bothering me, so I'm going to just, I was trying to leave it until after the video, but I have to do it. That is just a huge pocket. You can put lots in that. That is just awesome. In fact, you could actually make this kind of like a pop-up. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like a little pop-up diorama type thing. That would be so cool. But we need some string for this. I am going to use just some garden twine, I think. Okay, that is that part. Isn't that awesome? I'm actually really loving these pieces. I think they're fab. Then I might be slightly biased. I don't know. What do you guys think? Now, I don't have the ephemera and things made for these. I was really focused on the actual piece itself. But obviously you can stuff these full of ephemera. You can put whatever you want into them. We've pockets galore and a little notebook and all. So cute. Now, for this piece, I am leaving this one open as a pocket. I'm just going to stick some tape over this because that really will catch. Okay, so all we need to do here is glue up the sides and make something to go in there. I'm not going to make the card to go in there today. That is that. And on this one, as you'll see, my card that is in here is slightly shorter than the pocket, unfortunately. But if you make it the right size and just have a tab on the edge, and you'll be able to pull it in and out like so. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to go off and I'm going to get a little bit more decoration done on these, and I will come back and show you guys, okay? Okay guys, so this is what we have. I just did a little bit of decorating on these, not too much at all. I put some lace down the front of this one and a label. I think that is lovely. I wanted something frothy on the front of this, and that lace fit the bill perfectly. And I left the little fringe bit free, which I really love. On the back of it, I have put a little image of a lady. She's part of the Steamship Voyage kit. She's on the corner of one of the pages. I think I may have added that as an ephemera piece as well, but I'm not sure. But anyway, that's where that came from. And I've done some labels and some music paper down here. And I did also find, while I was going through my stash looking for bits and pieces, I found this ticket for United States Lines cabin class stateroom. So I thought that was perfect to go in here. Now I will link it up and all the rest of that, obviously. There's our little flipping notebook. And that is that. I don't think I put anything in here. Did I? No, I didn't. Okay. So that's that. Love that. And, excuse me, on the Tim Holtz one, obviously I went for the travel theme, being map paper and all the rest of it. And in here it says Railway Express, so I used a train on the front of it just to kind of tie that in. A little label with a washi sticker on top that says travel. And as you can see, nothing on the inside. I did find a couple of ephemera pieces to go in here. I will put more in here. We have our flippy notebook. Love that. And on the other side, I didn't really do much on the other side. I just put down this, excuse me, washi sticker again of a compass rose. And there is the inside of our pocket for that one. Awesome. So that is those. Now, as always, guys, if you want to be in with a chance to win our Zodiac journal for the month of July, it is the Cancer journal, do leave a comment on the video. Each comment you leave on a separate video that has been released in the month of July, you will be entered into a draw to win the Zodiac journal draw. And I will also be leaving a link below for a sheet for you to make your subscription public, because if your subscription is not public, I can't see whether or not you are subscribed. So you do need to be a subscriber to be in with a chance to win. Okay, so that is it for me for today. I really hope you enjoyed this make, guys. I love these things, and I am chuffed to bits with those gussets as well. Very pleased with myself, so I am. Yeah, so that is it for me. Let me know, give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye.